Hello again, and welcome to this another presentation from the Agency for Public Information. I am Nadia Slater. Coming up, Invest SVG signs a major agreement. St. Vincent and the Grenadines celebrates with one of its biggest developmental partners, the European Union. And as usual, we have the latest on the Argyle International Airport. But first, the news with Kesha Woodley.
Good evening. Welcome to Newswatch. I am Kesha Woodley. The second cohort of local grade 6 students sitting the Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment, CPEA, will be examined tomorrow. Students will sit the CPEA at 17 centers across St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The CPEA is an examination administered by the Caribbean Examinations Council for students exiting the primary cycle of their education. This year, 1,829 students have been registered for the CPEA. 905 of the students are females and 924 are males. The Minister of Education, Honorable Gerald Miguel, wishes all students success in their examination and expresses her gratitude to the head teachers, and stakeholders for their dedication to all students. This week, the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Nurses Association, founded since May 1912, is joining the rest of the world in celebrating the contribution of nurses in healthcare. Activities run from May 10 to 17 and ends with a nurses appreciation service at the Lauder's Deliverance Baptist Church at 10 a.m. on Sunday, May 17. Chief Nursing Officer Ms. Peggy Da Silva, in her address to open Nurses Week in commemoration of International Nurses Day 2015, urges all nurses not to settle for where they are today. Area Representative for West St. George, Honorable Cecil Mackey, on a recent tour in his constituency, highlights some of the work to develop the infrastructure and beautify his constituency. Minister Mackey explains present upgrades to a drain at Dalloway Junction as it has posed minor problems to persons traveling on those roads.
We appealed to the Ministry of Transport and BRAXA, and they responded positively. What they did, they cut the road and took out all of the old culverts and put in new culverts, and there's some plastering in the area here. So as you can see, the area is now allows free flow of the water, and as such there is no more gathering of the water here and any blockage created. It has also been made a little smoother for the vehicles as they come this area, and there was also some repairs to the roads leading up to this area. This is called the junction to Dalloway. As you can see, there are 3 different offshoots of the road. Some go into the interior in Bel Air and on to Ashburton, and this one goes up to Dalloway.
Minister Mackey also showcases work to improve the junction at Annisville in the area of Rick's Pizza, where a bridge is constructed to assist pedestrians using that road.
Because there was a serious challenge here. There was no walkway and no rails. But the rails actually stopped just short of the river itself, and therefore persons walking there, being mindful of the vehicles that were passing, would try to get as close as possible to the edge. And we have had 2 experiences within recent times of persons falling over into the river. So once again, we appealed to the Ministry of Transport and BRAXA, and they have responded positively again by using contractors in the area, putting in a walkway so persons don't have to compete with the vehicular traffic, so they can walk on the sidewalk. And in addition to that, they've put in rails so that would avoid them from falling over.
On to fisheries. Chairman of the National Fisherman's Day Committee and fisherman Winsbert Harry says it has been 40 years since the recognition of Fisherman's Day in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Harry shares details of upcoming activities for National Fisherman's Day on Whit Monday, May 25th. He asked the nation to support the fisherfolk and to come to Kaliakwa. The chairman of the National Fisherman's Day Committee states that fish will be at a reasonable price on Fisherman's Day.
Come and have lots of fish. Fish will be at a reasonable price for you on Fisherman's Day. So we urge the fish as well to be reasonable on Fisherman's Day, that we could give back to the nation as a whole on Fisherman's Day, that they could put more fish on the dish.
Finally, on Newswatch, on Sunday, May 17th, the Pan Against Crime Committee will host a gospel concert at the Richland Park Government School Hardcourt. It is billed to be an event never to forget. The concert, which kicks off at 4:30 p.m., will have renditions from the Police Band, the Mespo and New Dimension Steel Orchestras, the Police Christian Soldiers, police youth clubs, and churches and schools from the community. Remarks will be delivered by Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, Deputy Prime Minister and Area Representative Honorable Gerlin Miguel, and Commissioner of Police Mr. Michael Charles. Also, the opportunity will be used to launch the Richland Park Police Youth Club. Thank you for viewing Newswatch. Good evening. I am Keisha Woodley.
In case of an earthquake and the place starts shaking, shaking. Drop, cover, and hold on. Drop, cover, and hold on. In case of an earthquake,
there's a few tips that can keep you from harm. In case of an earthquake, you gotta stay calm. Move away from doors, windows, and things that can fall. Try not to use steps or elevators at all.
drop, protect your head and your face. Don't go running all over the place. Cover under a bed or a table, against a wall that's firm and stable.
Hold on,
you must hold on, don't panic, stay calm.
Don't move until the shaking stops. Drop, cover, and hold on.
Drop, cover, and hold on, in case of an earthquake.
Drop, cover, and hold on.
A message from the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, and the API.
Learn how to protect yourself during an earthquake. Log on to weready.org. That's weready.org for more information.
Welcome back. A letter of agreement was signed between the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Compete Caribbean at Cabinet Room earlier this week. The move is geared at strengthening the capacity of Invest SVG through technical support by Compete Caribbean. We'll learn more in the following report.
With its mission of attracting foreign direct investment to St. Vincent and the Grenadines through promotion of a number of sectors including tourism development, agro-processing, creative industries, renewable energy, information and communication technology, among other sectors of the economy, Invest SVG continues to build its capacity with the support of the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and foreign investors. On Tuesday, a letter of agreement was signed between the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Compete Caribbean for institutional strengthening of Invest SVG. Executive Director of Invest SVG, Bernadette Ambrose Black, disclosed that Compete Caribbean will provide $180,000 in technical assistance.
We're very pleased to be here this morning to witness this auspicious occasion on the official launch of the Invest SVG Compete Caribbean project, the institutional strengthening of Invest SVG with the aim of improving the investment attraction climate, the business climate in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This project was born out of Invest SVG and is The total sum of $220,000 with Compete Caribbean providing $180,000 in technical assistance, which will serve to train the staff of Invest SVG to strengthen the institution, which is the institutional pillar for investment in the state administration. We're very pleased to partner with Compete Caribbean on this project. The project is slated to last a duration of 14 months. Anticipated at the end of this project that foreign direct investment will increase. In fact, the trend has shown from 2011 a steady increase 2012, 2013, and a projected increase in 2015. So this morning we're here to witness the signing of the letter of agreement between the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Compete Caribbean.
Prime Minister Dr. The Honorable Ralph Gonsalves gave a brief background on the progress of Invest SVG through domestic and foreign investments over the years. The Prime Minister further noted that prior to 2001, the institutional arrangement towards investment here were inadequate.
In 2001, when this government came to office, it was generally accepted that there was a hit and miss approach to investment, depending on how the head of the government would proceed. There was an inadequate institutional arrangement. There was what was called a one-stop investment locale. That is to say, the Development Corporation. And the Development Corporation had a multiplicity of functions, and as a consequence was neither fish nor fowl because of the way it functioned and the context in which it functioned and the circumstances which gave rise to the Development Corporation. The context had changed. Both the context had changed and the text itself of the Development Corporation was not an efficacious instrument in the circumstances where it was necessary and desirable to build a modern, sophisticated post-colonial economy, which was at once national, regional, and local, and global, sorry, with every single one of those words being pregnant with meaning. Because the Development Corporation was fashioned in an era of quote-unquote industrialization by invitation, which was meant to develop the country, happen throughout the region, bring foreign capital and use unlimited supplies of labor to marry them. The most successful of those models being Operation Bootstrap in Puerto Rico.
Dr. Gonsalves emphasized that the functions of the now Invest SVG had to change to embrace the realities of the economic landscape today.
In relation to investment promotion, we decided to establish first the National Investment Promotion Incorporated. And by our experiences and the original director of that entity, Suzanne Joachim, did a very good job in founding it, in being the first executive director, and then she led the way to do the rebranding, what we have now as Invest SVG. I also give you, those who are here, a little background story, so that in an abbreviated form, so that you can see the reason why we had to change the institutional arrangements, because the functions had to be changed to what existed before, and to move away from neither fish nor fowl kind of scenario to something far more dynamic. Because as in biology, structure follows function. And if a function is to be performed in a new epoch, a new period, you have to have a structure appropriate to those circumstances. If you don't do that, you end up as a dinosaur. And those are extinct. And this is what was happening to the existing institutions which were there at the time. It's important that we have the memory and to understand where you go. Now, we came to the table with disruptive thinking. And I have always encouraged in this government, by the public servants and everyone around, disruptive thinking. And the part, this now, with Compete Caribbean, I am hopeful and I'm sure that they would bring to Invest SVG disruptive ideas. I don't want us to have just a process which says we must have new ideas, and just the recitation of or the incantation of the notion of new ideas when there are in fact no new ideas, because there are many men and women who say there is a necessity and desirability for new ideas, and the listener will say, boy, that man, that woman really has new ideas. When you ask them, well, what is the new idea? There is no new idea, just that they're in love with the idea of new ideas. But so we have to bring to the table real new ideas and disruptive thought processes. For what purpose? To attract investment, create wealth and jobs. This is what it is about. No. Invest SVG has been going along for several years now. And an external referent, REFERENT, an external reference point is always useful to come in, to inject, to bring it in, to bring something fresh, to refresh the process. And I'm hoping that we will not have within Invest SVG a resistance to disruptive ideas which are going to take us to a new level. Because we can't be spending this money of 200 and something thousand US dollars as window dressing. That we have a nice ceremony here. Nice meaning exact, an exact ceremony. And then there are good headlines, and everybody's reporting well, but then you have people in Invest SVG don't want to embrace any kind of disruptive thinking which is going to take it to a higher plane. And I'm quite sure that they are looking forward to new ideas, new approaches, and to help with the process. They have done well, but part of this is an acknowledgement by them that they can do better. Mm-hmm. And this is what we are about. And we have a good young staff over there. We have a good board. And I think we can have this show on the road.
Executive Director of Compete Caribbean, Sylvia Donner, noted that her agency is delighted to be collaborating with the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and is hopeful about the outcome of this project.
We are very glad to be here today to be signing this project to strengthen Invest SVG's capacity to attract foreign direct investment. Compete Caribbean is a private sector development program that benefits the 15 CARIFORUM countries. And it's funded by the Government of Canada, the UK's Department for International Development, and the IDB. And we also work in partnership with the CDB. And one of the very important activities that we do is that we work with governments across the region to try to do legal, regulatory, and administrative reforms, or to work with agencies that work with the private sector in order to facilitate the best business climate if possible, to facilitate investment and development. As you may know, foreign direct investment is a very important tool for economic growth, to generate employment, and to grow new sectors that may not be existing right now in a particular economy. I know that Prime Minister is a very well-read scholar and academic. And so, you know, Ricardo Hausman, who's a cutting-edge development economist, he's written a little bit about the Caribbean. And in his writings, what he has done is like he has examined the product space map of the Caribbean, seeing what the Caribbean countries produce and export. And his observations are that in the Caribbean, the new development has to come from producing products that are a little bit more sophisticated and that do not have so much competition in the international market. And so just relating that to the activity of Invest SPG, foreign direct investment can be a way of bringing in both the investment and the skills base and transferring that skills base to the local population to either move into products that are very similar but distinct from the products that are being produced right now in St. Vincent, products for export, or to make what he calls strategic bets, which is moving to products that are new altogether, but that can take the economy into a completely different stage. No? We are very happy to be working with Invest SPG. We found it to be extremely receptive. I wanted to tell you that this is not the first investment promotion strengthening project that we've had in the region. We've worked with a number and are working with a number of investment promotion agencies also in the Caribbean. We've had two very successfully completed projects, one with Jampro and one with Bell Trade. And in both cases, the projects have had very concrete results in terms of new firms coming in and increased employment. In the case of Belize, for example, by following a particular strategy that the program helped Bell Trade develop, it doubled the size of one particular sector and generated more than 2,000 jobs. And that's just continuing, okay? And I also want to tell you that we have here a top-notch team. It's really a world-class team, which is Avasant and Sancia Bennett together, as well as an extremely knowledgeable specialist from the IDB who's a technical team leader for this project. I'm very, very happy to be working with St. Vincent, and we are confident that this project will yield very positive results.
The Executive Director of Invest SVG took the opportunity to highlight how this country will benefit from this project.
The consultants, together with Invest SPG, will be looking at all the economic focus sectors with a view to choosing two sectors and focusing on two niche subsectors. We have already chosen tourism, given the coming on stream of the Argyle International Airport and the revenue generated by tourism over the years. We are still seeking to choose another sector.
Reporting for the API, I am Sheridan Lewis.
Are you guilty of throwing your garbage over banks, along roadsides, in rivers, drains, and on vacant lots? If you are responsible for the pollution of our rivers, the defacing of our roadsides, and the proliferation of mosquitoes, rats, and other pests in our country. Protect our environment, save our country, save our lives. A message from the Central Water and Sewerage Authority, Solid Waste Management Unit.
You're watching a presentation from the Agency for Public Information. Thanks for staying with us. The 9th of May, European nations celebrated Europe Day, a mark of integration for the Union. Apart from the history this country shares with Europe, the European Union has contributed and is contributing funding for a number of projects and programs, such as the Banana Accompanying Measures. And earlier this month, under the 11th European Development Fund, funds were allocated for the building of roads throughout the country. On Saturday, 9th of May, there was a cocktail reception marking the occasion of Europe Day. The European Development Fund is perhaps one of the largest external contributors to major projects in this country. The European Development Fund, or EDF packages, have focused on issues such as education, healthcare, agriculture, and the latest, the 11th EDF package, is geared towards infrastructural development. In light of this, St. Vincent and the Grenadines joined the European Union in celebrating Europe Day, a mark of integration around European states. On 9th of May, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs hosted a cocktail at Young Island for a visiting European delegation. On hand to speak was Director of Planning Laura Anthony Brown. She reiterated the tremendous strides the country has made through programs funded under the European Union.
We have several projects which are being implemented, but at present I'd just like to mention through the 10th EDF, where we are indeed at this time implementing the hospital modernization, well, not the health modernization program, which involves the rehabilitation of the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital, the rehabilitation of the mental health center. We are also doing and have completed in some cases 3 doctors' quarters and 2 polyclinics at Bucament and at Mespo. In addition to the 10th EDF, you would also have heard from time to time mention made about the 11th EDF, and we are going to in the 11th EDF, rehabilitate significant feeder roads, and this is in addition to 9 other pieces of roads which are being done under the BAM project. So you can see that we do indeed have quite an active engagement with the European Union, and so you would agree with me, what better way can you think about encouraging peace and prosperity in a country by, one, establishing that you have better healthcare services that we're doing through the 10th EDF, and the 11th EDF came out as a result of the request by farmers to ensure that their produce can be brought to the market with good quality. So these projects ensure that there is prosperity, and I believe it is true to say that if there is prosperity and development, then there will also be significant peace and harmony in the country. So that is the connection which I wish to make.
The EU representative, Sylvia Coffer, says she was quite pleased to be part of the event and further pledged the EU's continuous support for development and encouragement for regional integration.
It's a little bit like Europe Day, it's a little bit like a national day like you celebrate also here in St. Vincent. Of course, me as an Italian, I celebrate also the 2nd of June as the National Italian Day. But then on top of that, we have the European Day, the Europe Day, where all the 28 European countries celebrate this Europe Day, as was mentioned earlier, remembering the declaration that the former foreign French minister made in 1950. So this is 65 years ago on the 9th of May. And this declaration that laid the foundation for today's Europe, where he said we should integrate step by step, very small steps, but always in the same direction, more integration. And so only so we could avoid another world war. Yesterday was a day when we were remembering that the Second World War finished, and today is the day when we celebrate the unity. And with the unity and peace came the prosperity in Europe. So it's 65 years now that we have had this major speech, and only a few years later, in the 50s, the first institutions were launched of the European Union. From 6 countries, just 6 countries, we are now 28. 28 working together, of course, discussing many issues, not always having the same opinions, but moving always in the same direction of greater European integration. And it has guaranteed peace in Europe for all these years. Now, this may not seem very long if you think back about the history of Europe. I mean, for centuries, Europe was really the center of wars. For many, many centuries, and only 65 years now we have peace. But even this peace, we can't take it for granted. When we look to the east in Europe, where we have what is happening in the Ukraine, we know that we really have to cherish it, and we have to every day work for keeping peace in Europe and cherish our prosperity. Now, as regards our relation with St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we have a relationship that goes back to history. But it's not just that. We really have, I think, we share common goals, and one of the goals is like fighting climate change. It's promoting democracy, human rights in the world, but it's also promoting more regional integration here in this region. So the European Union supports not only the projects that were mentioned earlier and bilateral aid with St. Vincent, but we also promote a lot of regional integration projects, either through the Organization of the Eastern Caribbean or through CARICOM. And actually we have big projects that will be launched in the next years. We have set aside 346 million euros, which I think is about 900 or almost, 900 million EC dollars for projects up to 2020 that favor the integration of these islands here in the Caribbean, because we believe, you know, with unity comes strength. And these islands, just like many small countries in Europe, they don't have the same future if they do not work together. So I think by working together, we are stronger.
Minister of Foreign Affairs, Honorable Camilo Gonzalez, says the EU is an excellent example of integration, considering their history.
The issue of the European Union is something that is always in the forefront of global discourse. In the last few days, you will have heard of various debates. Will Greece exit the European Union? You've had an election that just concluded in the United Kingdom, and one of the issues that the victorious party ran on was that they will have a referendum on whether or not they will, the British people should remain within the European Union. And it seems to convey some sort of sense, if you read the headlines, that the European experiment is somehow something that is less than desirable. But that could not be further from the truth. Sometimes when you read headlines, they don't give you an accurate sense of the strength and the importance of the European Union and Europe Day. It is a project, an ongoing cooperation project that has contributed significantly, not only to European peace and prosperity, but to global peace and prosperity. And I, for one, am very happy that we are here to celebrate another Europe Day, Schuman Day, because it was called Schuman Day after the French foreign minister who made the Schuman Declaration, and I like days that are named after foreign ministers. I think it's an important trend that we should follow. But the European Union, currently constituted, has been a beacon for human rights, for democracy, for cooperative and collaborative decision making, for leadership in areas like climate change, small island development, and economic development generally throughout the world in areas that are very far removed from the European Union. And they are of the European experiment is of particular importance to St. Vincent and the Grenadines and CARICOM because it demonstrates the successes and the possibilities of integration. We ourselves are engaged in an integration process. We have various concentric circles. The OECS is more tightly integrated than the wider CARICOM, but we are trying at some levels to integrate ourselves. And we must always be mindful that the European Union, countries that speak different languages, that have very different histories, that have a history of enmity and war between and among the countries of the European Union, have managed to fashion an integration movement and a union that is very strong. And certainly they have overcome many obstacles that we in the Caribbean do not have to overcome to achieve our own forms of unity. Of course, we have our own challenges, chief among them being our very islandness, and it's very difficult to integrate islands. Much easier to integrate a contiguous mass, which is the problem you have with Britain. They're still an island. But the they have many lessons to teach us, and I'm very grateful to hear that the European Union remains committed to our own integration movement, because, as was said, it is from that unity that we will gain strength. Small island states like St. Vincent and the Grenadines, one of our chief vulnerabilities is that of size. And the only way that we can overcome the vulnerability of size is by getting bigger. And the only way that we can get bigger is to unite and integrate with other nations that are in our immediate area. We have, from the very beginning of our written history, been an area of interest for Europeans. The Garifuna and Kalinago peoples of St. Vincent and the Grenadines formed alliances with the French and fought wars against the British. And our own history is very much intertwined with European history. Today, we benefit tremendously, not only from European tourists who come to our shores, but with the support, the various acronyms that you heard earlier, EDFs and BAMs and all the rest of it. The European Union is our largest donor cooperation partner, if you aggregate all of the countries of the European Union. And individual European countries from time to time also cooperate with St. Vincent and the Grenadines in large and small ways. And many of the honorary consuls here can testify to various acts of cooperation by individual European countries. In a matter of weeks, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, before the end of this month, St. Vincent and the Grenadines will be signing a Schengen visa waiver, and Vincentians will be able to travel next month to Europe for without a visa. And that is also demonstrative of the ties of trust and the bonds of friendship that exist between our country and the countries of the European Union. I am happy to know that the European Union is cooperating with us in areas of health, in areas of infrastructure, in areas of agriculture, in areas of culture, in areas of integration, and many other fora.
This year is the 65th anniversary of Europe Day. We take off with our IDC update up next.
Members of Returning Nationals SVG have pledged to continue their efforts to raise funds for the Argyle International Airport. Since its inception in 2011, Returning Nationals SVG has so far contributed more than 250,000 EC dollars to the Argyle International Airport's contributory fund. Its contribution on Monday, May 11, 2015 of EC $35,000 at Government House was the latest in its string of contributions. This donation was a combination of the funds raised during its 2014 Christmas dinner and dance and its recently held barbecue over the Easter weekend. Chairman of Returning Nationals SVG, Nayoka Clouden, addressing the handing over ceremony, thanked everyone responsible for aiding in the success of all of their fundraising efforts so far, and said they are happy to be numbered among the many Vincentians who are contributing to the development of the country.
Like everyone else, we know that the Argyle International Airport will bring enormous benefits to our country. For example, our youngsters who are busy gaining their qualifications and experiences around the world, such as engineers, the travel and tourism managers, customer service managers, the linguists, the hospitality workers, and everyone else. Also, our farmers whose produce will get to their destination on the appointed day. so that when my sister buys her dasheen from the market stall in High Wycombe, she won't have to throw away half of it because it's spoiled from sitting in a warehouse waiting for a flight.
CEO of the International Airport Development Company, the IADC, Dr. Rudy Matthias, in his address, noted that the Argyle International Airport is not an end in itself, but is meant to facilitate the development and growth of the country.
We know that we engage in this exercise, and it is going to cost us, well, at least the value of the airport project is about $270 million US. And the reason why we're making this significant investment is because everyone here knows, although some people pretend to not acknowledge that without this piece of infrastructure, our tourism sector, and indeed our country, can't grow at the rate that we would like it to grow. And if you don't grow fast, it means that you cannot eliminate poverty at the rate that you want to eliminate poverty. The faster you grow, the more resources are going to become available to the government to make all sorts of interventions, socially and otherwise. So this airport, as we know, is really supposed to be an engine to help the tourism sector and the hospitality sector in general to grow, and in turn, our country as a whole to grow. The good thing about it is that while it is going to be valued at something in the vicinity of 270 million US, over the years, with the help that we have got from different countries, help in cash and in kind, we are only spending about $200 million US to construct and to retrofit the airport for operations. So we have been able to save a significant amount of money because of the kind of help that we have got. And you are making your own contribution. You're not giving us millions, but you're giving us support in a way that we like the support. That you're standing here and saying to us that in spite of what all the minority views might be against the airport, you believe that it is a good thing for your country and you are helping us to make money to help it to go. That is the sort of support that we like. But I'll tell you something though, the Argyle Airport, while it is not an end in itself, has also helped us to do a number of other things. So, as you know, some time ago we discussed and agreed that with some of the monies that you've helped us to raise, we will make a Carib village at Argyle. And within the last 6 months or so, we have been discussing with the Ministry of Culture and the Ministry of Tourism about the setting up of that village. We've had consultants come here from Cuba and from Argentina to advise us, and from Netherlands, right? Leiden University, Netherlands, to advise us on the setting up of this, what we call Cayo Village. It is going to be located just over the mouth of the Yambo River. And I suspect when this village is created, the generous contributions that you have made to it, would be recognized and acknowledged somewhere in the village. But this village is going to be an attraction, a cultural attraction. At least that is the way we want it to be. And that is being done to help to attract people to St. Vincent. Because when you build the airport, we want tourists to come here. But when tourists come here, they need to have something to do. Either culture, or sea and sand, or mountain climbing, or something of this sort. So this is going to be one of those attractions, cultural attractions, to attract tourists to come to our country. And I'm really happy that you are making a contribution towards the building of that village. We also, in the process of building the airport, have achieved a lot of knowledge transfer. We have achieved significant transfer of knowledge in the process of building this airport. So that when the airport is finished, we will have a large number of Vincentians here, still living here, who can use a variety of different pieces of heavy equipment. In working along with the people in the lab, the Cubans who are working in the lab, we are having now about 17 or thereabouts young Vincentians trained alongside them to do testing of soil, testing of aggregate, testing of concrete, and testing of bitumen. This is knowledge that we are building in our own country, so that if we are to do something like this again, or even on a smaller scale, we don't have to send to Cuba to get people to come here to do the testing for us. We have developed that capacity in-house now. In addition to that, for example, in the mechanic shop, you know, we now have a number of Vincentians who can repair heavy equipment. You know, when we started this airport, we couldn't find 2 or 3 good Vincentians to help us repair the equipment that was sent to us by the Venezuelans. But I can tell you now that we have built a cadre of Vincentians that are quite capable of servicing and repairing these equipment. And all of this is due to the airport. So these are some of the benefits, and they are tangible benefits, that we have derived from the investment in the airport, although the airport was never meant to be an end in itself. So we have a lot of people to thank. We want to thank all of those countries that have contributed over the years to us building this airport and to helping us to build it at a cost that is much lower than the value of the project. As I said, the project is going to be valued somewhere at US 270 million, and we are not going to spend anything near to that. We are going to be spending for both construction and for retrofitting about 200 million US dollars. We want to thank Taiwan, Venezuela, Cuba, Trinidad and Tobago, Iran, Libya, Mexico, Georgia, Turkey, and an organization called the CARICOM Development Fund for significant financial contributions and contribution in kind to this project. We also want to thank you because you have given us over the years large amount of money. But we also want to thank you for your emotional support. And there are other Vincentians at home and abroad who are also contributing to this effort. Sometimes we get checks in the mail for 250 US dollars, 50 pounds, 100 pounds. And the people are writing to say, we really do appreciate the work that you're doing and we want to make some small contribution to the project. We value those contributions and support. We also want to thank and support and thank all of the people who have set up organizations like this one. We have some in New York, we have some in Canada. They are not just making a contribution themselves, but they are also bringing Vincentians together. And not only Vincentians, friends of St. Vincent and the Grenadines too, to support the project. We want to thank them. Sometimes we talk about the contributions from countries, and we tend to forget that small contributions like yours, in monetary terms, mean a lot to us in terms of the emotional support that you give us. And last but not least, we want to thank God for the strength and the faith that He bestowed on us to start this project and to see it to completion. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
His Excellency Governor General Sir Frederick Ballantyne, patron of the AIA Contributory Fund, thanked the group for its continued support of the airport project.
I must admit that the largest checks that I've received since I've been in this post has come from you. And keep wondering whether I can take that up to the bank. The check itself is so large. As Dr. Matthias said, when I asked him the amount, I honestly didn't believe that we were going to receive a check of this significance today. Because times are particularly hard in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and throughout the world. And any fundraising event which raises this large amount of money signifies to us not only your contribution and your faith in the project, but also the faith of Vincentians in the project, because they're the ones who support by buying tickets, etc. I'd like to sincerely thank you. I'd like to thank Dr. Matthias for a comprehensive review of the project. And I'd like to use this opportunity to remind you that in spite of all that he says, that there's still a lot to be done. And so we look forward not only to your continued support, but for the support of all Vincentians, local and abroad, and friends of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, because in the final analysis, the airport project is for all of us and our children.
For more information regarding the construction of the Argyle International Airport, You can visit our website at www.svgiadc.com.
Thank you for joining us on this presentation from the Agency for Public Information. Remember to keep joining us every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday for our programs. I am Nadia Slater. Have a great weekend.